Hey there, I want to do another video of 5 songs with only 2 chords. And that's an oversimplification of almost any song that has 2 chords, because generally they're going to make some variations and changes to them. But you can take these 5 songs down to basically 2 chords, 2 basic harmonies, and imply it. So if you're playing at a campfire and you just want to be able to play a song, these are great songs to start with. And then what I'm going to do is that we're going to have like a level 1 and a level 2. Level 2, I might show you a couple extra little things you can do with those 2 chords to make them a little bit more interesting and also more like the original recordings. The first song we're going to do is a song called Tulsa Time that was recorded by Don Williams and by Eric Clapton, both in 1978, which I find that's actually really interesting that 2 artists recorded the same song. And so I'm going to concentrate on the Eric Clapton version. Basically, it's 2 chords. It's G and D. And we're in the key of G, so the G, it's a 1 chord to a 5 chord. Though I think you could probably get away with playing what I call a G5. I'm deadening the bottom or the 5th string, so it's 3 0 0 0 3 3. So there's really no 3rd in this chord, and then I'm going to go to like a D7, or you could go to a D. And D7 would be X X, and then 0 2 1 2, or D would be 0 2 3 2. It's actually really reminiscent of Achy Breaky Heart. Actually, the Achy Breaky Heart is reminiscent of Tulsa Time. It sits on the G chord, the 1 chord, for 3 bars, and then it goes to the D chord, the 5 chord, for 1 bar, and then it sits on the 5 chord, D, for 3 bars, and resolves to the G chord for 1 bar. Basically, songs do tend to move in 4-bar or 8-bar chunks, or even in the case of blues, 12-bar chunks. But so this one is classic. It's just the same 8 bars generally repeated over and over again. Living on Tulsa time, living on Tulsa time, living on Tulsa time. Sorry for my singing. It's not my forte. Okay, so now one of the variations we can do here is we can take this G5 and we can add the 6th, which is putting our 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. And so we have this D and we take it up to an E. Very, very classic rock and roll. Right? But this is a big stretch. This is actually really easy. I mean, this finger might normally be here anyway for G, so we're just going to move it down a string. Then we go to D. Now this one's a little bit more difficult. To get the 5-6 suspension thing, I'm having to stick my pinky out there and grab that. So when I go to the D chord, I'm going to play just a standard D, 0 2 3 2. But I'm going to add my pinky out here at the 4th fret of the 3rd string. So it's going to be just for that 1 hit. And notice the hit is generally on 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is going to be at the 4th fret. So it ends up being 0, 4, 3, 2. Three bars of this, and then to the G. Okay, I'm going to play it 2 ways. I'm going to play it just with a simple like G5 chord and a D7 chord, and then I'm going to play the G5, but I'm going to add the 6th, and I'm going to play the D and add the 6th. I Melt With You by Modern English had only 2 chords as well. And it went not from 1 to 5, but 1 to 4, from the C chord to the F chord. And if you want to kind of get the vibe down, there's a lot of energy in the post-punk new wave music from England. And you'll notice that I did that fast 16th note before. You can practice that and that'll give you a good 80s vibe. When I watched the video on this though, so the 2 chords I'm playing here are C, and I'm muting, kind of reaching around and grabbing, and I'm playing 12 string because that's what I saw him play on the video for the song. But I'm muting the bottom string, so it's X and then 2, 3, 0, 1, 0, and then F chord. And I did a video on how to play the F chord. Well, we're gonna bypass this chord ultimately. Like I said, I'm going to show you 2 different versions here of this one in particular. So we could do F, and it would be a full bar here at the 1st fret. So I'm barring all 6 strings with my 1st finger at the 1st fret. So it's 1, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1. And that's a hard chord on a 6 string, let alone a 12 string. But when I watched them play this song in the video, the guy playing 12 string was actually playing a C over G chord, okay, which maybe is a little bit harder than a C chord, but in some ways it's easier because you don't have to mute the bottom string. And so what I'm doing is I'm putting my 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the bottom string, my pinky on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, the 4th string, open G, 1st fret of the 2nd string, which is a C note, and then the top is E. And so that's technically a C over G. But then what he did was he moved these 3 fingers all together like this, down 1 fret each. And he basically ended up with kind of an F major 7 over C. And maybe not even hitting that top string so much. He may be muting that. But it makes it for almost an easier... And I kind of like the sound of having the 5ths of the chords in the bass. Now, if you want to do that fast shuffle thing, the 16th note feel there, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to play the 8th notes as downstrokes. I'll do this all the time. I'll start out kind of up and down on the 8th notes, but then when I'm setting up one of those quick 16th note turnarounds into the next chord, I'll start doing downstrokes. So in slow motion, it might look like this. Like that. So at tempo. Eleanor Rigby is one of those songs that can be broken down into just 2 chords. Even though there's a lot going on in the orchestration, it's a C chord and an E minor chord for the most part. In this case, we're in the key of G or E minor, but if we're in the key of G, the C would be the 4 chord, and we're going to the 6 chord, which is E minor. And what I like to do with it is it starts on the C chord. I like to play kind of quarter notes with my fingers and make them short. So that's a skill that you're going to have to develop, grabbing the individual strings. And I'm playing the middle 4 strings. I'm playing the 5th, 4th, the 3rd, and 2nd string. Basically just kind of go like that. And then the verses are just E minor. And there's a slight little variation thing you can throw in there. You could take the first finger off on the C chord at the very last beat. there and make it a C major 7 chord. That's one variation. Over the E minor chord too, the next section, you could play like this. If you wanted to take it up another level, you could still just play E minor and keep it very, very simple. Or you could add this harmony and it really implies the song quite well. It's a beautiful harmony. And all that movement is happening on the second string. Again, I'm playing the E minor chord, by the way, with my right hand. I'm playing the bottom string, and then I'm playing the fourth string, the third string, and the second string. But when I play in, I think this would, you might call this the pre-chorus. I'm not exactly sure what section of the song this would be called. But I'm playing an E minor 7, so I'm adding this D note here on the second string with my pinky at the 3rd fret. Hitting 4 of those. Then I'm sliding it down 1 fret to the 2nd fret, and that makes it a C sharp and a minor 6th chord. And then this, go down 1 more fret, but this time I'm going to use my 1st finger. And that's kind of, you could call that an E minor sharp 5, but really more like a C over E to E minor. I'll get rid of the hood. So Billie Eilish song, Therefore I Am, is just 2 chords, not 3 chords, 2 chords, D minor and A major. And so we've had a 1-4 progression, we've had a 1-5 progression, and we've had a 4-6 progression, but now we're going to have a 1-5 progression, but in a minor key. So we're in the key of D minor, which by the way has a B flat in it. We're going to refer to that in a second. And the major chord to create the dominant sound is we're going to use an A major, or she uses an A major. And so you have an A major, which has a C sharp in it, and a D minor. And so that's the 5, A is the 5, and D minor is the 1 chord. The way you're playing D is the top 4 strings, 0, 2, 3, 1. And then the A chord I'm playing nothing on the bottom string, open, second, 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 open. Now, so you can just, however you want to play D minor, it's 2 bars of each chord. And the melody's more complex than that, but I'm just simplifying it. I can't really sing like Billie Eilish. And then we're talking a contemporary song. This is pretty recent. This is 2020 or 2021, maybe even this year. Okay, now if you want to make it a tad more complex, you can add that B flat to the D minor chord and to the A chord. I'm going to show you how to finger. So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to finger the D minor chord this way. Open, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, pinky on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and the 1st finger on the 1st fret of the 1st string. Okay, I got it out. And then I can add on the 3rd string, I can add the B flat right there in front of my 2nd finger with my 3rd finger. Okay, now when we go to A, normally I play A kind of with my 2nd, 3rd, and 4th finger because it's just a little bit more skinnier finger to get that pinky in there, a little more real estate. A little hard for me to do it this way. But flamenco players do it this way oftentimes. They bar the 1st finger, the bottom 2 strings, and then they get the 2nd finger. So they're doing an A chord with only 2 fingers, and they get the open E string going. So the way they're playing is nothing on the bottom string, open, 1st finger on the 2nd fret, and the 2nd fret of the 4th and the 3rd string, and then the 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string. And then try to, if you can get that open E string, it's fine. If not, don't worry about it. But then you've got your 3rd finger free to hammer on, or not hammer on, but place that B flat there, which is the flat 9 over that A major chord. So you might take a little bit of coordination to set yourself up for it, but you can just go to D minor. Another two-chord song that lasts probably more than 5 minutes is a song called Season of the Witch by Donovan. Probably one of his biggest hits. And it's just A7 to basically to D7. Basically the way you play A7 is nothing on the bottom string, open A, second fret, open, second fret, open. And then on the D chord, the D7, it's bottom two strings are not played. And then it's open, second, first, second. Or 0, 2, 1, 2. And that's D7. And he's kind of got this kind of a shuffling. So you could do the whole song with just those two chords like that. So he sings high. On the recording I noticed, I feel like sometimes on the D7, if you want to take this to the next level, okay? So that's the basic two-chord version. We can go a little bit more difficult. If you want to, on the D7, if you bring your thumb around and play that F sharp, I feel like sometimes he's really hitting that. I'm not sure if it's the bass player or if it's him, but check it out. Times on guitar you could hit a third in the bass even if you don't want the third in the bass as a whole. If you've got a bass player that's below you playing the root, you don't really notice it's a third, but I was listening to the guitar and I felt like he was kind of hitting that. The other thing too, he's hammering on the D7 in particular, he's hammering on that first finger sometimes. So you can practice that, just hit the D chord without the first finger and then try to drop it on there like that. And one of the tricks of hammering on is stay close to the fret, but don't go onto the fret. Go just behind the fret. Also, try to kind of imagine that you're driving your finger through the fretboard, okay? You're kind of driving it down into the fretboard. And that's called a hammer-on. And you can also do it on the A chord with the second finger. Gives you a little bit more flavor. You might want to save it for about the 3rd or 4th minute of the song because it goes for a long time. You might want to save some of those tricks. That's just a good overall lesson in anything you do musically. If it's going to be a pretty boring thing, you want to save some dynamics. You want to save some little licks or hooks or tricks or whatever like that for when to bring them in. So that you don't get too bored and your audience doesn't get too bored, okay? Okay, so I hope that these 5 songs are interesting to you. I hope they're ones that you can have fun, and just the idea is just to start playing songs as soon as possible as you begin on guitar, because that's really what makes it a lot of fun. I mean, you can sit down and do scales all day, but it becomes very academic, it becomes a little boring, and it becomes a little bit like a chore. And those are still fine. You should still learn some scales and learn exercises and learn. I think it's a good thing to learn to read music sometimes. But just being able to play a song and sit with some friends and sing some songs, if you know a good singer, then you can accompany them. You don't have to be the singer. If you're paranoid about singing in front of people, don't worry about it. Find someone who is not paranoid about it. Find someone who loves singing in front of people but can't play an instrument, and you can be their accompanist. So anyway, I hope this was a good video for you. I've got a long list. I could do a couple more of these, no problem. I'm just trying to mix it up with decades a little bit so they're not all from the 60s and 70s, because that's the real temptation. There are songs that are more modern that have only 2 chords, but they're not generally guitar based. So you got to hunt for them a little bit more, okay? God bless you. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.